Welcome back to the deep dive. This is where we take those sources you sent our way and really dig into them to pull out the key insights for you.
And today we're looking at academic writing, specifically some practical ways to make it clearer based on the material you shared.
Right. The goal, as always, is to break down this source material, make it digestible, and figure out how you can use its ideas to make your own writing, well, clearer and more effective.
Exactly, making it impactful.
Okay, so this source starts with a pretty core idea, doesn't it? It says academic writing isn't just about getting information across.
No, it frames it more like guiding your reader, taking them on an intellectual journey.
And if that journey's path isn't clear, bogged down by super complex sentences or vague language, then the reader gets lost or tripped up.
Precisely. The source really hammers home that clarity isn't just like a stylistic choice. It's fundamental for communication in academia. Clear writing means a smooth journey for the reader, less chance of them getting stuck.
So how do we actually build that smooth path? The source lays out 5 strategies. Let's maybe walk through them. What's step 1?
Strategy 1 is all about trimming the fat, eliminating unnecessary words.
Okay.
The point it makes is that extra words, redundant phrases, they don't just make things longer, they can actually water down your meaning. It gives an example, something like, the aim of this study, in line with the objectives of the research, when really just the aim of this study is usually enough, much punchier.
Right. So you have to ask yourself, does this word really add something?
Yeah, exactly. Or is the sentence just as clear, maybe even clearer without it?
And the benefit is?
More concise writing, more impactful, get straight to the point.
Makes sense. Then building on that, the source moves from words to whole sentences. Strategy 2.
Use short and purposeful sentences.
Why short, though? Academic ideas can be complex.
Well, the source argues that really long, winding sentences can actually hide your main point. Makes it tough for the reader to follow your thinking. So the idea is, try to stick to one main idea per sentence. It helps the reader process things step by step. Reduces the cognitive load, you could say.
Less chance of them getting confused or misinterpreting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the source also mentions this helps accessibility, especially, for non-native English readers in the global academic scene.
Good point. Short sentences as clear signposts. Okay. What's strategy 3? It shifts to the actual words we use.
It does. Strategy 3 is prefer concrete over abstract language.
Because abstract terms can be a bit fuzzy.
That's the issue. They can mean different things to different people, right? Creates ambiguity. So the advice is, instead of using vague concepts, go for clear, specific language.
Like the example in the source. Instead of just saying, in some cases.
You should specify which cases you mean.
Yeah.
Be precise.
So it's not just about clarity, it's also about showing rigor, academic rigor.
Exactly. That specificity, that concreteness, the sort says it boosts clarity, yes, but it also massively strengthens your credibility. It shows you really know your stuff, builds trust with the reader.
Okay, concrete language. Got it. Now, moving on to how sentences link together. Strategy 4.
Maintaining logical flow. This is key for the overall structure.
Right.
The source stresses using smooth transitions, not just between paragraphs, but between sentences too, using those linking words, therefore, however, in contrast as a result.
But using them meaningfully, not just sprinkling them in.
Precisely. They act as explicit signposts, showing the reader how one idea connects to the next, how the argument is building or shifting.
Like drawing the map for them.
Yeah, exactly. It helps them see the architecture of your argument. Super important in academic work.
And the final one, strategy 5, feels related to some of the earlier points.
It is. Avoid jargon and overly technical language.
Unless your audience is very specialized, I assume.
Right. The source is clear on that. Discipline-specific terms are okay sometimes, but only if your audience definitely knows them. Otherwise, it just creates a barrier.
And if you have to use a technical term?
Define it clearly the first time you use it.
Yeah.
The source insists on that.
So the overall message here isn't about dumbing down complex ideas.
Not at all. It's about making the language you use to explain those complex ideas as clear and accessible as possible for your reader. The complexity should be in the ideas themselves, not in how you phrase them.
Got it. So these 5 strategies together, concise words, purposeful sentences, concrete language, logical flow, and managing jargon, they all work together.
That's what the source concludes, yeah. Applying them doesn't just make your writing easier to read, it enhances its academic value, its persuasiveness, its overall impact. Clarity is fundamental. not just polish.
And remember, this deep dive drew on content created by academic practices.
That's right. You can find more from them. Just follow Academic Practices on Instagram and Twitter.
So, as you think about applying these strategies, here's something to chew on. How might the actual process of working towards clearer writing, forcing yourself to nail down definitions, find specific words, map out connections, how might that discipline actually sharpen your own understanding of the topic you're writing about? Something to think about.